Rather,
All right, now we'll call the meeting to order. Meeting minutes were approved, so now our citizens' comments.
So Jeff D'Agostino, 39 Reservation Road, Deerfield. I came just because I saw that travel soccer was on the agenda, and so I coached the middle school, and so I have some opinions and thoughts about the program. So I just had talked to Julie about some ideas and Nick about some ideas. But overall, I think, I guess my opinion would be, don't put the horse before the cart. That maybe the better question is try to get a focus group together to find out the actual interest and maybe do more of a needs assessment on the program to say, here, what do people actually want in town for soccer? What do we have today? What's the gap there? And what does it cost and resources to get there before you jump into a program and say, let's do travel? So that was where I just saw it was on the agenda. I didn't know where it was going tonight or not going. And I talked to a bunch of parents, and there's about 4 or 5 that said they'd be happy to kind of help spearhead a focus group and work with Nick to try to get that off the ground so it's not putting more on your shoulders. I know you guys already do a lot. Some people stepped up and coached this year that didn't have kids on the team. But that was all it came down for. If you have questions or anything.
and I'll just jump in. Jeff had approached me before, one day out here, and then when he talked to me the other day, I suggested that he come tonight, and I didn't know if we could move the travel soccer discussion from bottom of the agenda to top so that Jeff could hear whatever thoughts we have on it and what the ideas about travel soccer, so that he doesn't have to wait around. But he just had some thoughts, and I thought he could share them with the board here now.
My game doesn't start until 7 or 8, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy if the rest of the board's happy with moving it up and talking about it, that'd be fine.
Okay.
So we've discussed this before in the past, and some of us have had kids that have gone through this a few years ago, but, we've always looked at this as a recreational program, so every kid can play, and that's the idea. There's other opportunities outside of Deerfield to get into travel programs. I'm just not sure, and we've talked before, whether there's enough kids in Deerfield to make a team at any level, enough interest to do it. So that would be an interesting survey to take, I guess, to see what the interest and if we think you'd be competitive out there. That's kind of what we've thought of in the past. Open it up to anybody.
Yeah, I mentioned to Jeff that we kind of like how we moved away from travel basketball was a part of Parks and Rec, and then we moved it where it wasn't. But we talked about, is there a possibility that if they had a parent group or that kind of managed it separate from Parks and Rec, but we, had some role in it, because obviously they're going to have to use the fields, and there's going to have to be communication and cooperation with that, with field usage and so forth. So not, I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but I know Jeff talked about definitely needing parent support, because if you put something together, they need parents to run it, and if parents, after their kids age out, don't continue it, then you don't have a program, and the kids are going to have to go elsewhere for that. So, but he was going to work on looking at, checking other parents and all.
Can I make comments?
Why don't you stay over there, and then it's definitely get it on the record.
So I've, looked at it for about a year now, just because I talked to Joe about it, and we looked at doing some futsal, 1 day a week inside. And from the towns I talked to, from guys that I play with that are on the committees in Salem to Dover to work at Seacoast, the common theme is when you need to have parents buy in and support. 2, they all have an independent committee that has to run it, because they're someone has to schedule the teams, someone has to buy the uniforms. It's not Park and Rec. They all have committees, and it's delegated out. And a friend of mine just stepped down from the Salem group, and I'm done. I've been here for 12 years with all my kids. You have a year to intern under me, essentially, but there's no program if someone doesn't step up. And he basically said someone always steps up, right? But you can't take it back. You have to put the onus on the parents, was a theme I heard. And there's fundraising involved and things like that. It is a bigger commitment. But at the end of the day, I'll bring it back to teaching, or I'm not a teacher, my wife is, but if you think of kids and development, if you don't create a foundation, how do you put a competitive team above that? And that's one of the big things I saw with the junior high team is half the kids were competitive, right? They played club sports, or they played high-end travel teams. But those kids that didn't even know how to put a plant foot down. And I can't figure out why the ball's going not in the right direction. I'm like, well, your foot's here. But you should have learned that in second grade probably, like with that level. So to me, the bigger thing would be, and I talked to Julie about is, I talked to Dan Rivas over at Seacoast, soccer, who runs the Epping facility. They do our town program, and that's really where they kind of make their money. And he's like, look, how can we partner with you? I'll run a pro bono program for your parents. Over here, we can have some kids come in, get some pizzas, more of a casual atmosphere, so they don't have to go get an accreditation through US Soccer, but they can see how I do it, and they can try running it with the kids. He goes, I'm happy doing that, just how can we help you guys better? Because we don't do much other than, run that. So I think there's a lot of resources out there, and that's where I think, and I agree with you guys, building a foundation of just motor skills, whether it's basketball or soccer, and diversity is good before you even start thinking of, how do you compete? Like, if you can't hit a baseball, how do you go on a travel team? Is that fair? That's just my opinion.
It's funny because a couple of weeks ago, we had a discussion about lack of parents participating in soccer and officiating, running the concession stands, coaching. And we talked about getting Seacoast to come up and do some clinics.
For parents or
Parents.
players?
For parents.
So Dan, I talked to him, I'll see him tonight, actually, my game's at 8, and he has a team that plays too, so I'll see him, and we just talked last night. And I think there's a lot of opportunities, like, so my son asked to volunteer to be part of like the honors program or something with the school, so he actually volunteers to coach at Seacoast with one of Dan's younger teams. But US Soccer, not US Soccer, New Hampshire Soccer had something come out about with the referees and how do we get a feeder program for referees. And so I talked to Julie about this as one of the things, and my son had studied for the exam. It was how to maybe get the junior high kids, or the middle school kids, they call them, have them come down and coach or ref the younger kids' games. Maybe you do a token fee. I think it's about $12 is what a 10 or 12-year-old gets paid to ref, but having them practice, right? Kids from town, they're invested in it. They can also use it for volunteer hours if they need it for, was it honors roll or one of the societies they need volunteer hours for in middle school. So I think there's a lot of options there to try to pull kids in, get kids engaged, another aspect. It also teaches them a lot about the sport because now they're wearing a different hat. So you're developing their mental capacity to play the game because they're seeing it not in the game, right? So, and just some other things that I think can be done just with what we have and getting buy-in and helping parents. Because the big thing I also heard with parents is I didn't play soccer.
Right.
I played college basketball.
Right.
I'm not comfortable. Can we make you comfortable? If you were comfortable, would you do it? If we could hand you a manual
Right.
that said, here is first and second grade, just like in school, here's what you're gonna work on this year, here's kind of our curriculum, and you have it somewhat standardized to kind of make it so that every kid kind of is getting a good opportunity, how does that sound? Oh, that'd be easy. Just, I flip a page and it tells me the different drills, and then bring in someone like maybe Seacoast or a coach to make sure that they're going through them right. I think there's a lot of things that we could do to help, but you need parent buy-in, and I think you guys do a great job, but you gotta delegate and get more than you guys to do the work.
Well, at that same meeting, we talked about getting kids to help referee too.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of how to do it and get
That's
it
happening at
done.
the state level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it is happening. It's just getting someone that might volunteer to help get it off the ground.
And there's other parents that, Dave Dunham, I spoke with Dave tonight. Unfortunately, his son's sick and he couldn't make it over. But Dave's like, he's happy to help with like a focus group and trying to get people together. But I still think it goes back to talk, from a business perspective, talk to your customer, whether it's McDonald's, like you can force a salad on someone, but if they want it supersized, they're gonna buy supersized. Your son and I talked about that, like their buying habits. And so it doesn't make sense to produce a product that people don't wanna buy, right? And if that's the taxpayer base and that's where the kids are, I think that's, to me, step one. It doesn't really matter what I think if that's not what they want, right?
So here's a $1,000 question. How interested are you
In what?
getting this off the ground?
I mean,
A study
couple-
committee?
a couple of these guys know.
I mean, I'd be happy, me personally, I'd love to see it, because it's how we started it 30
I'd
years
be
ago.
happy to,
so-
like, I've already pulled people together to go. I mean, we almost set up a nonprofit is because there was some resistance at one point in not having it. So if you guys are open, there's parents that are, it's a handful of parents that have enough interest, that get sick of driving, to be candid. I mean, we drive to Hampton all the time, and now our son's gonna probably be playing out of Exeter. I'd love to see Nick not have to drive out of town 6 days a week.
Yeah, I
To
think,
be able to do something in town and be proud of what we're doing.
I mean, I would caution us that we don't hurt our rec program and we take too many kids out of it, would be my concern. And I don't know, and that's, again, that would be a study to see numbers of who wants to play and what levels you'd play at.
Would they be playing at the same time? Same season?
Actually, we just talked about this with someone. So the answer is yes and no. And so the team that my son may play for this spring is a bunch of the kids he plays for on his club team at Seacoast, but a bunch of kids play baseball in the spring. So they're not going to play in the spring for soccer. So Nick will pick up the season, go there because we don't have school, right, season. So he'll go to another town just to pick it up to keep playing because he doesn't want to, kind of sit still. So you don't have to play year round, right? They can kind of come and you go. But I do think that the bigger thing is making sure you have a foundation. So you talked about not taking away from the rec program. To me, it would be more of an enhancement, where I think the first step probably, and you'd have to look at it first, is how do we make the program that we have today better, right? Because you can't, quote, draft a kid or to go play in a competitive thing. It's just, you don't set them up for failure, basically, right? So how do we look at that first? The other thing is how do you put a travel team in this town? We don't have a field, right? Whether it's the junior high, right, or anywhere, we don't have a field that fits the regulations, right? So I think there's big, without getting too much into it, I think there's bigger issues of like jumping into a travel team, because what are the minimum requirements? You
Right.
can't have
Yep.
nets that aren't regulation. You can't have fields that aren't regulation when you're playing in a competitive travel league. So that's why step back, find interest, see what we have, and then, to me, it would be probably coming back with like a report, maybe it's monthly or 2 months, depending on deliverables, but have some clearly defined deliverables, with the output being, here's a report, it's a needs assessment, and here's the needs, and then, okay, let's break down maybe a gap analysis and say, okay, where's the gaps, right? And what's it gonna cost? And then let's look at your budget, right? And to me, it would be great if all your sports did this, because then you guys could, from a planning perspective, say, okay, let's look at our resources, let's look at our budget, let's look at the fields in town. Here's where people's interests are, here's what we have, where are we aligned, where are we not aligned? That's a different, bigger picture, but to me, that's the output that would come back, and then from Nick could say, okay, here's our budget, like, we can't do it because we don't have the fields. And so maybe in 3 years, we could try to plan to get to that, because we'd have to get the town to allot land to it, we have to clear it, you don't need dugouts, and then it's just grass, but it still costs money to cut trees down, and
Especially in this town.
not as much probably as other things, but like, it's still, there's work there. And so it's not a 1 year flip it and go
Right.
type process, maybe be able to finagle things, but I think those are things it's better to ask the questions up front and, have a plan so that you don't set the kids up for failure. And so, yes, I would be willing to help spearhead, get that off the ground, work with Nick, and, but I think that, defining some clear deliverables, I think is the other thing, and having it time bound, so that way it just doesn't linger forever. And having some transparency, somehow report it back to parents so they get a feedback loop to, hey, I helped you, what's the result? That's just my thoughts.
No, anybody else got anything? But
Yeah, I appreciate your interest and also your common sense approach to this situation. I think some people out there just think that they can just flip a switch and direct Nick to start a travel program. There's a lot to it, and you raised a lot of those issues right there. So it's good to hear that. I have my own thoughts about the travel program. My son Jordan went over into Candia. This was probably, it's coming on 20 years ago. He worked with Phil St. Cyr over there, as did a couple other kids from town. And that continued on with my next son, who spent a lot of time with the Yellow Jackets over there in Candia with Mark Hamill and company. And they've done a great job down there in Candia. I mean, my biggest concern is this town big enough to support a competitive travel soccer program? I don't know. Maybe you can help us figure that out. But I did talk to the fellow that runs the Northern Strikers in Nottingham, and his organization actually runs travel programs and the recreation soccer. They're in Nottingham, and he said, yeah, it's kind of a competitive situation because they don't have enough kids in their town, so they're always trying to reach out into nearby towns, like Candy is doing, so it's kind of like on both sides of us there.
Auburn and.
Yeah, it's, so, you know, I don't have the answer to it, but I think it makes sense to evaluate it and look at it and see if there's some way that something like that could happen here in town, and whether or not the recreation department could play any kind of a role in it.
I actually, kind of the same thing as Dwight. My daughter, Jeff's my neighbor, so we've talked about this a few times. My daughter plays travel soccer for Candia right now. Their soccer president, his name is Rob Boucher. He's looking to try to meet up with Nick to see if there's any way they can filter their rec program, because their rec program really struggles. They don't have enough players for like the younger kids, like third and fourth grade, first and second, to put on any type of program. So he's looking to see if there's something they could do to send their kids over with us for rec, get them some, I guess, competitive, just actual sports, basketball, soccer, just get them into the actual game. And then some of our more competitive players filter up to their travel system. They're more than willing to have them come there. They have 3 or 4 teams right now, but they're more than welcome to welcome our kids there that want to be more competitive, because there's not a lot of kids at each age group that can spearhead that. So he's willing to see what we can do to kind of bring Deerfield and Candia together. So I was actually going to be talking with Nick about that tonight, because he wants to get Nick's info, and me and Nick already talked about it. So he kind of wants to see if that's something that our 2 towns can kind of do to kind of work together.
So are you saying that Deerfield Candia would be one team, so Deerfield Candia Rec would play Nottingham, Deerfield Candia Rec
Yeah,
would
like
play
their
Raymond? Or
their
whatever?
kids would come, their rec kids would come and play
And
with
we would-
us.
Right, we would either play here, or Candia would be a home game, but we'd be one team.
Right, yep.
Yeah.
And
And
then the
then
same
their-
with a possible travel team as it could go.
Because their travel
Canadian
team,
kids,
yeah,
too.
their travel team, my daughter plays for the U13 and U12 Candia Stingers. They travel not too far, but Barrington, out to the Nashua area, Amherst. So it's very competitive. They're a good team, great kids. It's a very, very good, well-run organization. So there was just another thought that, just to kind of get some of our kids that want to do the competitiveness can move over there, and then we could still work on the long-term plan to get Deerfield something, but
So one of the things, one of the guys, John, that plays on my soccer team, the adult team, who will be there tonight, that's what I was talking to in the car. John's actually the middle school coach, and actually he's his daughter's coach. So him, kind of circular conversations, him and I have been talking about that for the last month or two, is how would you organize that? Because he coaches the town team, or travel team, plus he also coaches the middle school team. And it was like one of our challenges, and it drove me nuts, is seeing kids loyal to another town like Auburn, leaving the middle school practice to go play for a town team. And I'm like, you're playing for your school, and you're going to play for another town, it's not even the town you live in, but because they developed brand loyalty to that town over the last 3 or 4 years because they left the program, right? Because they got frustrated, right? It was hard to see, so that was one of the things that John and I have talked a little bit about is there a way potentially, if there's the interest there but not enough, because Candy is a smaller town than we are, right? Like, to be able to pull some programs together, similar to maybe baseball, to increase your foundation, right? And do kind of some best practices from both. And then when it gets to that middle school level, have that collaboration so that you're not stepping on each other's toes, pulling from a practice or a game, and because they're kids. They don't have the musculature and the hormones at that early age to be able to recover like an adult would, right? And you can't be running them, like, because you got one guy running a practice here and not communicating with that guy. I mean, that's a bigger concern, is injuring the kids, right? And so I do think that is a good option potentially, and they're right next door. But it put before the cars in some ways, of just find out where the needs are in the town, and then I think there's a ton of options, and that's actually one that looks really attractive. They got some nice fields, the coaches I've met there are great,
Yeah.
and the parents are involved, hence a bunch of us play soccer together. So it's not just the kids, it's adults that still play, which to
And
me,
I
that's
just think
my
it would benefit our Parks and Rec department. It would bring in more revenue for Parks and Rec, and it would also help Candia out for the travel, and our kids getting more competitive feel for the game. Like, my daughter played rec for 3 years here, and then moved over there, and it has become a complete different player. Like, it's been a very positive experience for us. So I would love to see that for more of our kids.
Well, in some ways, you get kind of economies of scale, right? There's more kids paying in per resource, it becomes a more efficient program.
I think there's some preliminary work that needs to be done, some research to find out just how many kids are interested in playing, a competitive game. Because we don't want to, if we do get into a partnership with Candia, we don't want to promise them so many players that yet we don't have them. So we have to find out, if you can put that committee together of those parents that are interested in getting this thing up and running, and then maybe send out a survey to all the parents of the kids that have that are already participating in the Parks and Rec soccer. Find out how many of those kids, what ages, are interested in playing travel, so that way we can find out the real numbers, and then we know what we can offer them. And then we can also ask them for what kind of numbers to plan on for the rec program for us. But I mean, I think that's the first thing that needs to get done, is find out the true numbers and then go from there.
I mean, I think there's that, and the other part would be, so that you don't have to volunteer again next year, is like how to, and I know you got your survey, I didn't get it, but also I coached the year before, I didn't even get asked to coach this year. So I know you coached, and I had said that, I'm like, no one even reached out, and I coached last year. And so it was kind of odd, I was like, so I think somehow creating a better database, or organizing the database so that everybody's getting reached. Because I think that's the bigger issue, is how do you get parents involved? So I think there's two things. One, is there interest in that? But I think that's almost a later question in some ways, right? Because it's like the program in general, how do you improve that, right? How do you take the data from your questions? How do you get more parents involved in the program? How do you improve what you have before you go try to build something new? But while you're doing that, ask the question of, if you're of these ages where they do have these programs, would you be interested in this if we form some collaboration or something and provide it? So to me, there's a primary question, and then there's kind of a secondary question of, if we can get this to be able to produce these kids that want to do that, is there interest? Or otherwise, maybe it's best just leaving it go find your own program, because there's only 3 or 4 kids that actually are getting to that level of ability to actually go play, versus raising the boat, raising the tide for all boats to rise, which to me may be the primary question.
Yeah.
And I think you could do all that with one committee over the next 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, no, I think, the first thing is to put that committee together, and then, get off and running,
Get numbers, yeah.
start the groundwork and go from there.
I think doing that committee too, I would ask parents, if we were to offer a clinic for coaching, to give them ideas of how to coach, would they be interested in coaching? At the rec level, not at travel,
Right.
you know?
I would rather see the middle schoolers get patched and ref the younger kids.
That would be a great idea.
I really think that's the way to go with the younger kids, the 1, 2, 3, 4s, to have, 12, 14-year-old,
Even
patched.
some of the high schoolers.
And, yeah, definitely. Offer them, $12, $15 for a game. Because that's what they were doing in Nottingham. They were paying their, 16-year-old. He says, this is a great gig, I can make money on the weekends and,
Doing something they
right,
love.
so he likes, right,
Well, it's also, like you said, they learn a different part of the game,
right.
absolutely.
So maybe, is that a survey that we can create for all of our parents who have kids at that level? Are your children interested in reffing some of the kids' games here for the rec department? And then we can provide the training.
I'm not sure we.
Well, I
the
think
rec
we should
doesn't-
just go to the middle school and see
Yeah.
Cindy Hansen, the AD, and say, hey, these are the kids that are on the team, on the weekends, are
Yeah.
they?
Once they get into the
once they-
junior high, they get out of rec, more or less, right? I mean,
Right.
Yeah, they kind of start to
Yeah.
phase out, so.
So,
So if they're,
But I think, that, asking the question at any level, and then you seem to have a lot of contact and get that word out that way too, so.
I mean, the other thing you talk about, Cindy, one of the things she and I have been talking about is opening soccer up to fifth grade a little bit, now that we're out of that season, to get them playing. One of the things that actually Nick was just coming in, so I didn't bring it up to him yet, per se, but it was, you guys had travel in fifth and sixth, and right, so kids that were leaving and doing both, and I was always concerned, how hard are your practices? Who's your coach even? I don't know what you're doing there, because you're running with eighth graders, which is gonna be physically more demanding, but also you're not gonna get a ton of playing time all the time. Could we set up an environment where you have fifth and sixth, kind of having them practice together, right? Where then if you do this travel, fifth and sixth actually that don't really get to play during the week, play maybe travel on the weekend, right? So that creates some synergies with school even coming together with town and playing together within our own town better, right? To make a better program, because I had kids that didn't cross over, but I bet they could have probably helped the team if they did. And they didn't get a lot of time with us. They showed up and they worked hard, so you wanted to get them in, but Cindy's clear, it's competitive, right? And you play to win, where I think at that age they could still develop some more. So I think there's some even internal synergies we could do with Cindy, and Cindy's seems to be pretty open.
yeah, she's open and she's a good resource.
As long as it doesn't put more on our shoulders,
Right.
So
Oh,
that
yeah,
was part
yeah.
of where I said there's getting buy-in from others. So Cindy may be a person to bring in to tap into for questions.
Okay.
So for your questionnaire, do you want to, I can get the people together. Do you guys want to think about some questions that you guys would have, and then you can get some of the parents together and maybe come up with one kind of questionnaire kind of agreed on, so that way we're not trying to tap in too many times with it, and we come out with, tap into your list for, here's the parents that did the sports, maybe even parents that didn't do it this year because maybe they didn't do it for a reason, but tap into that Park and Rec email list, and then we could bring it back and basically analyze the data, say where's the commonalities and the answers that we have here. Maybe it's parents that, and we target some parents that you coached basketball or you coached baseball, your kid played soccer, but you didn't coach soccer, and those people having a specific question about, I noticed you did this, you're really involved in your kids' lives, that's great. Would you be willing to help with soccer? What are the barriers to entry kind of for you to stepping up? Is it comfortable? But let them tell us what their things are, because then you actually know what you need to do to enhance the program and get more buy-in. But I think that would be a good thing, is trying to get that really good questionnaire together before you send it out. Make sure you're gonna get the answers back and you're asking the right questions so they're meaningful.
Right.
And that you can actually analyze them at the end, right? Because it's about asking good questions. But I bet that, with the holidays, but I bet you we could get that out in January.
Well, I'm thinking maybe you can, seeing you did volunteer, I heard, didn't you guys hear him volunteer to run
We
this
did.
thing?
And Katie said Katie volunteered too. I saw her writing.
Yeah. Luke wants to go on a travel team. We didn't have Luke, we didn't have a team.
Dave Dunham, you want to write that name down?
That's
No,
right.
I did. I talked to Dave before I came in here.
Well, what I was thinking is if you could get that group of people, and maybe our next meeting is January 3rd, and maybe we could definitely have that meeting, looking at an agenda, but that may be a big topic, is the group you have and come together with a bunch of questions to put out a survey. But between now and then, don't put the survey out, but come up with questions and answer, questions that we want to ask and how we want to ask it, and then develop a survey at that meeting and get it out. Because you don't want to wait, then you're into February and,
Yeah, no, what I'm saying, we could get it done by then, obviously break down kind of the process to get to the deadline.
Right.
I was just saying, I bet we could get a survey out and results back by the end of January.
Yeah.
Which would then have to kind of work down
right.
a
So
game plan to get
the
there.
meeting we have January 3rd, we can get it going and then get the survey out within the next week of that and get answers back by the end of January.
Probably get an iteration to Nick before then, because I think it's gonna take more than one go around to kind of get to
Yeah, I
where
mean,
we
if you
wanna
can,
be
then he can send it out to us and we can add and look at it too, and, yeah.
and run drafts.
And I don't think you're gonna be able to stop kids from playing on school teams and travel teams. My daughter played on her school team, she played on the rec team, she's played Concord Express, ODP, Living Development, she played 3 seasons, 3 sports each season. So when she left ski racing, she went indoor softball, and then at the Bow Field House, she'd play indoor soccer. So we can't decide what our kids are gonna do. I mean, I think,
I'm with
it's
you.
really hard to, if they're being coached by somebody, I think the parents need to say, well, we need to slow down, we need to stop that. But it's, it's really up to them how, competitive they want to be, and if they want to be with their friends at school, they want to be on their travel team, they want to go sleep in hotels, they want to try new things to see what they're good at. It's just really hard to, tell them to kind of choose.
I'm with you.
one.
I had some kids that had clear overuse injuries. Right? And because they were doing a thing down in Derry for basketball, because that was their primary sport.
Right.
And it was clear that it was an overuse injury. They came into practice limping. And I'm sitting there looking at them, we're doing yoga at times and doing muscle release, right, with balls, because it was like, you're being so overworked, your body's not being taken care of, no one's educating you, and you have a bunch of ignorant coaches all kind of piling up on this one kid who doesn't know better, who, kids, like you said, they're gonna run until you make them stop.
Right.
But at some point, parents or adults need to be adults and say, okay, how do we communicate better? How do we create the right environment for them to develop? Like, you just don't let a kid loose in a school and say, learn math, right? Because they're not gonna learn math, right? They're gonna go have fun and hurt themselves. And that's all I was getting at.
Yeah.
is-
Oh, yeah,
is I'm
definitely.
aware of that. I hate
Right.
to see kids at 7th and 8th grade with overuse injuries.
Right, yeah, they got plantar fasciitis, and they got ripped of this, and,
That's
Yeah.
my concern.
Yeah.
Thanks. I would take your time.
Anybody else got anything? I really appreciate you coming in. It's-
yes,
it's
thank you.
a lot
Thanks,
of
Jeff.
Good stuff that we want
I
to
think Julie, thank you
follow
for
up
the
on.
email.
so.
to tell me.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Have a good game.
Don't get hurt.
Good luck.
Don't overwork
Get hurt.
yourself.
Don't overuse
Watch
it.
that ACL. Watch that ACL. Watch the boards.
Okay, good conversation. Recap a coffee house event.
I think Ernie kind of put it pretty
Yeah,
briefly
did you
in
print
that
that out?
email. Yeah, he said, coffee house take-home was $12.50 with 106 in attendance, and it was a good time, and he said Dwight can verify this, so
Right.
about $12.50. So,
Did you hear anything from Leslie? If she was satisfied with,
yeah,
Anything?
she
Anything?
said everything was fine, and she was happy to get the tablecloths back quickly, so,
okay,
so
She
all's
hasn't got
good.
them all back yet.
Yeah.
What's that?
She will. She hasn't got them all back
Oh, I
yet.
didn't get them all?
no, because there's,
Oh,
no.
I didn't,
There were some in use
There's some in
afterwards.
use for the Thanksgiving.
oh, okay. I'll let her know that there'll
Yeah.
be more coming.
Yeah.
She was just really worried with the transition that the people that set up on Friday weren't there on Saturday to run things. So I think she was a little worried about, transition. And I thought the kitchen was completely fine. And the table where we collected money seemed to run smooth, and so.
Yep, no,
Thought it
she had
went well.
no issues brought up to me, and
All right, so we're good on that?
Yep.
Holiday lighting contest. Well,
Okay.
before we go there, we should say, I meant to start off that I'm very relieved that Zippy was found today.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Katie is very relieved.
Katie is.
That ties
yeah.
into the holiday spirit.
There you
It's
go.
back.
That was in the Seattle News. Seattle.
Is that right?
Seattle, New York, Boston,
Yep.
Florida.
Florida. It was Washington
Was it?
Post, yeah. It's everywhere.
People were stressed.
We're looking for
It's
news.
good relief. So anyhow, get it out there. All right. Holiday lighting contest.
All right,
All right, I'll start. I'll just pass around the flyer if you guys haven't seen it yet.
We did.
Aiming to go as
People on
per the
Facebook saw it.
emails. December 8th is the deadline. I put out a reminder for that on Facebook just so that people know when the cutoff is. We have to create a map and figure out where all the addresses are for that so that we know where we're going when we figure out the judging. We asking them to be done by December 16th and ready for judging on the 17th. And that leads me into the next question, I guess, is to finalize how we want to judge it. Last year, I talked to John Vansky today, and he said that he actually took the van full of after-school kids to do it. That obviously can't be done on a Sunday. So how do we want to do that in regards to judging? I mean, we can go back the senior route. I know that's what we've talked about before. It's just a matter of how we want to do it and get a van full of people.
So we're saying it was on the 17th? Is that what you said? was the date?
That's what we agreed on in the email.
Yep.
So,
I thought I recalled, Joe saying when they took the seniors that it was a good experience and it's kind of neat to involve seniors, and trying to do that in this
Yeah.
town with something that is very easy to have them involved, and probably people that normally wouldn't drive around and look
Right.
at the lights.
Right.
And I think we should not judge lights, because there could be controversy.
Yep,
Yeah,
Um,
I do.
I
Oh, you
agree
think
with,
we-
I agree with that.
I
What do you mean,
do.
we-
I'm not voting for anybody's
Oh.
house.
No,
Yeah, no, but I think the seniors was, the people at the Sherburne Woods or any volunteers.
I think they
and
would love it. I think we should approach them again
You
and,
could check with Denny, maybe Denny might,
Yeah, Denny would be good.
might have some good ideas.
Yeah.
There's
Get a handful
also
of
quite a
people.
group that's doing, it's not yoga, but one of the classes.
Yes, Jody's has a senior class
Senior
going too, so that
exercise.
could be an easy
yeah, that'd
demographic
be easy.
to
They're
hit.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why we went away from the seniors to begin with, but
Yeah.
definitely all forward, just getting a van full of those guys and taking them
Yeah.
around.
That's actually a great resource, because I think they're
Right.
gonna be
Yeah, more.
positive enough.
Right.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it's quite a group, or
Yeah, they-
good-sized number.
They meet on Mondays and Thursdays, so I can actually
Alright,
talk
there
to
you
them
go.
tomorrow morning,
There you go,
actually, and
boom.
see if they
Yeah.
wanna do
That'd
it.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like- good idea.
Okay.
Have at it.
What are the awards?
They're going to be judged on, same thing we did last year, was most spectacular, simply elegant, and most creative.
So we didn't do a business category, right? I know we talked about
I
that
don't
last year.
No,
I think
But-
so.
no.
All right.
No.
We'll probably just stick to those three and get prizes. I don't know if you guys have input on what we should get for that. I know Deb brought the idea of maybe going to a local business and getting like, a gift card to like the new coffee shop or something like that, or putting a basket together for whoever wins.
Yeah.
So,
Does the Blue Bowl do gift cards?
I don't know
I
if
think
she's
that's what
gotten
she
them
was-
yet. I know someone asked like the first week that they were open and they didn't have them, but
Could do
That's been
But-
a huge interest and hit in town,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That would
actually
be a
pretty good
It'd
idea.
be good for them, too.
yeah.
that would be good for them, give them more exposure, yeah.
Although, I wonder if you gotta be careful if you just go to them, or should you
Right.
ask all of them and
Yeah, we could ask Yanni's, Blue Bowl, and Penguin.
Yep. First place gets
Or
one,
the Lion-
second.
and the
third-
Lion,
or-
too.
No,
I was thinking the Lion, Blue Bowl, and
Country Munch,
Country
too.
Munch,
Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
food
more
places.
than the
Okay.
Right.
gas station stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
but-
That'd
Yeah.
be great.
I mean, if-
One year Joe did those boxes, like there was cookies in one, candy, and there was a tower, big ribbon. It was something that he had ordered, and
Hmm.
people kind of like those things too, but,
Yeah, too.
yeah. But local gift cards are great.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Plus,
Yeah.
it's helping the businesses,
Right.
too.
Exactly.
We're local.
It's awesome.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna check on judges, and we'll work on prizes, too.
we'll do that.
Storage system and event calendar.
I think Amy and I both were kind of set on the same idea. I think when people were saying about the light issue, the Christmas lighting, and everybody's like, well, what did we do last year? I had to dig forever in Facebook back to find the poster. And I'm like, geez, we don't have a copy of that, like in a binder like this, like all our Parks and Rec, like hard copy, electronic for all the things we do. And one of the other things that I've noticed, and I've never brought it up, is I've gone back maybe to look at, I don't know, maybe softball. Maybe I want to look at, who was on that team? And I'm looking up the roster or the schedule. But it's 4 months after the fact, it's gone off the website. Or the holiday lighting thing, it's gone. When I go, didn't they do the flower show last year? And I'll look, and that advertisement is gone. And I'm not sure why things get removed, why they just don't stay on there for a longer period of time. And it kind of gives a history of what we've done, like the
Right.
2014, 15, 16 flower show we've gone to.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
And so my thought is to have both a hard copy so that you can very easily, someone new like Nick, or what if Nick is out and we need to get something out that Deb needs to be able to find, or the new assistant director needs to know, okay, this is what we do. Here's a portfolio of, as well as
Yeah.
having it electronically.
Yeah.
Right, and we do have a share drive that we use. For whatever reason, that flyer wasn't in there. I just couldn't find it, if they had one. But you're right about the Facebook thing, like it takes forever to just dig through, so something more efficient for sure.
But even our own Parks and Rec website doesn't seem
Right,
to.
right, right.
So you're
keep that stuff.
suggesting maybe create like an archive of just things that have happened in the past.
Right.
I can
Maybe
get
hard
with,
copy and
Different.
electronic. Yeah, I
Right,
think
we
you're
print so
right.
many flyers, we should just save, you know, a few
Right.
from each event and throw them in a binder and
Yeah.
whatnot, but,
most of which we do have, it's just not available for everybody to see. So I can
Right.
get with Steve from IT and see if that's something that we can do.
Yeah,
Is,
see if
do
we
you
can-
know if there's a reason why things disappear off the website, like after the fact, after, you know, I don't know, I'm trying to think of other things I've looked at and it's not there, like,
I don't know if
That's where you were looking at the Parks and Rec website, and you couldn't find these?
in the
Town
past, I've looked for
website?
other things, I've looked at the Parks
Right.
and Rec website and things get erased, like this lighting thing isn't, if I go to Parks and Rec, this isn't on here for last
yeah,
year,
but
now.
because they do it seasonally, so, I mean, now it's not even updated because there's still, you know, soccer stuff on there and other things on there, so.
Right.
But it's not like
I
there's
think-
that much, like, why do we have to even remove something that was, you know, because especially sometimes as a board member, people say, well, what do you do for seniors, or what do you, then I could quickly go in and go, oh, yeah, we do, this is what we did this year. So for me, it's helpful to be able to, you know, if I'm not aware or I forgot that we did bingo or, but all the different activities that we have for the different,
Part of that might just be with First Class, which is what we used to upload the things to the town website. So there are only a certain amount of spots that
Space.
we can use.
Okay.
And you check things out, you check the box, and I don't know how many slots it is, if it's 100 or something between all of the tabs on the page. So that's kind of why we remove things, because, you know, they could build up pretty quickly. So seasonally, when things are done, we usually just take them down. Joe's always told me to do that, even when he was here. Just kind of clear it out, and it kind of clears the way so that you can see what's actually going on
Right, what you need
next.
to see, right?
Right.
so how do you, how would Joe then have information like, say we talk about, and it's on the agenda, Winter Carnival. So if it's off the website, what did we do last year for Winter Carnival? Is there a way that, you
It's on
know,
the drive, it should be on the drive. There's-
Right,
It's on there
everything's,
somewhere?
everything's in the drive.
So
There's,
just-
there's a folder for almost everything.
Okay,
so-
so just basically me, Joe Citizen, can't go and,
Right,
pull it up.
not unless we post it or keep it posted.
Which, yeah, and so I think there's probably two parts to what we were thinking about, because just like a calendar, even an archive calendar, so that if you look back last year at this time, you know, what were the events that were happening in December? Are these same events happening this year? And sort of, you know, an easy place to see where things are going on. And I don't think there's a real calendar on the website right now, or even, I don't even know if there's a way to attach a calendar to a Facebook page. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but I don't know why there wouldn't be.
Yeah, something I was thinking about was just to kind of, I want to start doing a calendar in advance, 2 months in advance anyway, just to let people know what's happening. But at least, you know, from the month to month, post it to Facebook so that people know what's coming.
Yeah.
And then if we can put some kind of a link on the website, I've seen it before where they have pretty much the whole year laid out, even if it's not planned yet. They still have the calendar slots there. So
Yeah.
that's another thing I want to talk to Steve about, see if we can implement that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Good ideas.
So for advertising that gets to the Hartford Brook, I sent out a message about maybe trying to write something and put pictures and, you know, kind of thank yous of updates and, you know, who's been helping and, you know, see where the warrant, so everybody in the public can see where the warrant money is going to and,
Right.
you know, if we can do that. I mean, I don't want to write anything because I don't want to leave anybody out and I don't know, you know, the exact details on where we're at and
Ernie might be.
so, yeah, Ernie definitely, yeah, I didn't hear back from him, but
Yeah.
I know he has some good pictures of Jack on the roof.
Yeah, I
and-
took pictures of the progress the other day too.
Yeah, okay.
I know, I don't think Hartford Brook's on the update, but I do want to give an update for that too, whenever we can squeeze it in.
Do updates now?
You want to do that? Okay.
Yeah, there you
Sure.
go.
Now,
Go
okay.
for it.
Shift gears to Ernie's thing here. So I'll start with Ernie's update that he sent via email. The dugouts are done. Shout out to Jack Hutchinson for that. He spent weeks on it and they look exceptional. So that was a huge piece. That's gonna allow us, at the very least, to get baseball games in over at Hartford Brook. That was the one thing holding us up this past year, just for the safety piece. So that was huge, just to get those done. Of course, they still need to be painted, but that's a spring project. Next thing being the fence and the backstop are now in progress too. So hoping to have those done within the next week.
You started that work?
Yeah, they started putting the poles in actually yesterday. So, there's progress there already.
Nice.
That should be a quick turnaround. They want to get that done before the snow falls, I know that for sure.
So that's for the backfield.
Yeah, for the softball field.
Continuation of the perimeter fence? I mean,
Right. So if you drive by there, you can actually see where it's all staked out right now, and the fence should be up soon. That is going to exhaust the rest of the warrant article as well. That's one of the goals that we wanted to get done for 2017, or else that money disappears essentially. So that was a huge step too. And then we're going to start looking at grant money, which looks to be, Bill Gagus from the state is going to coordinate a visit with him so that we can do an inspection of what's been done already over at the field. They kind of just want to see that, we're doing everything that we're saying we're going to as far as the construction goes and making progress that we're saying we're making. So he's going to meet up with me for that, and Jack is going to come along as well so that we can just kind of be advised on the next steps and so forth. So that is next in the plan for that. Ernie also noted that there was a freeze scare at Hartford Brook and Bicentennial Field. Since we hadn't yet winterized, I wasn't sure of the plan of that, but now that is in place. I've reached out to Butch. What's Butch's last name?
Brown?
Butch Brown. Butch Brown is going to meet with me tomorrow. We're going to winterize Bicentennial and take out the heater that's in there and use that for Hartford Brook until that gets done as well. Butch has not done Hartford Brook before, but we're coming up with a plan to have that winterized as well. It's a different system. The people that put that system in have a certain way of doing it, and we're trying to reach out to them to get the answer for that. So once that's done, Butch is going to help us winterize that building as well, and then we'll be all set. Chris Colbath already came and winterized the irrigation portion of it, so we're set on that front too.
Was Chris, never mind.
Chris would have done it, but he doesn't have the expertise in it. He was very forward about that, and
I was thinking
he
of
would have liked to.
doing the rest of the irrigation. We'll do that in the spring.
With Hartford Brook, yeah. I think we already have the bid out to him. Ernie also noted about the exterior lights, that they come on and off with the sun as opposed to when a motion sensor comes on. So he's going to look into that as well. I think that was it for Hartford Brook.
You want to do more updates? You want to move on to the,
Let's see what else we got for updates. Move on.
okay. Celtics or Red Sox tickets? Red Sox games?
I have a contact with each, so it's really about figuring out how we want to do it. I know Joe's challenge in the past, and I've talked to John, the town administrator, about this as well, is he could never seem to really get rid of all the tickets. He's bought them in a bundle of 50 before. We can explore doing less than that, but the group rates that Seth and John with the Red Sox and Celtics respectively, the group rates come with a minimum of 50 tickets. So that's something that we have to push out if we want to do a community event like that. I'm all for it, trying to push those out, but we need to, another thing that we could probably put a survey out on is figuring out who is actually interested in it, because it looks like Joe is always able to get rid of at least 20 tickets, but that leaves us with 30. In
I
the
thought
past.
Red Sox, so didn't they sell out? I mean, maybe,
They have
I'm not 100% sure about the Red Sox. I know.
'Cause I remember
I'm
going.
going off the most recent Celtics trip is what I was
Oh,
referring
yeah.
to.
Okay.
The Red Sox I think is a definite, because
Yeah.
that sells
Yeah.
very well.
The
Yeah.
older generation love taking the bus.
Right.
We do.
I do.
And that's another part
I
of
don't
it.
drive in Boston.
Yeah.
That's another part of it too. I think it sells better if we provide the transportation for it. People aren't having to pay for parking when they get there and things like that too. So that's a huge piece. If we can provide the bus, I think we're gonna get rid of those tickets a little easier.
I just think the Celtics, basketball is a harder sell for 50.
Yeah, it's a
Baseball is, like you
Baseball,
said,
yeah.
is much easier.
Yeah.
It's a big number. And we did have people reach out because it has been a yearly thing that we do. But it does seems like we don't have enough interest to actually push it all the way through. Joe's had to take tickets back to his hometown before to just to get rid of them. We don't want to be stuck in that position. So maybe Red Sox is what we'll explore and try to get transportation for it.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's backing up. And
Definitely do transportation.
Yes.
I'd like to jump in before you leave that topic. My son works at the athletic ticket department in UNH, and one of his responsibilities is to bring groups over to UNH. Obviously, they have all sorts of sports over there, a lot of sports that, you know, the rec department deals with here in town. So I'd like to give you his phone number, Nick, if you'd like to reach out to him. Because a lot of groups, youth groups, will go over there and attend games and have functions as well. They'll have parties, they'll have birthday parties, they'll do different things. If you go to a hockey game and you see those little guys skating around during the intermissions, that's the sort of thing that they do over there, and they're trying to get more and more groups of people over there to the university to see the different sports and all that. And they got some great facilities too. So,
I like the hockey games.
I'll give you his number, Nick.
Yep.
Right. Because that's, I mean, it's generally short money, and it's not too far away. I
Don't need transportation either, we could.
It is, I know,
Right, it's
we've
pretty
gone over
close.
individually. I used to take my kids over to watch the men's basketball and the women's basketball, and it was great because they'd have posters, and a lot of times the athletes would sign them. So when you're a fifth
That's
grader and you're
cool.
getting an autograph from a college player, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And,
That
so,
might be something to offer instead of Celtics this year.
Yeah.
Try
Yeah,
that,
maybe
do
get
a
the-
See
basketball,
how that works, yeah.
see how it goes. Because you're right, the fourth, fifth, or even,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the young kids would love it.
they would love it, yeah. And, you
Go
know,
as a group.
get the parks and offer to the, you know, kids that are playing basketball. They're good role models for the boys
Right.
and the girls in the programs, and see some good basketball.
Absolutely.
Good stuff, right.
Right, Winter Carnival.
Okay, Winter Carnival, if we're going to do it around the same time we did last year, the target date will be February 24th. Last year, it ran from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I guess I'll just open it up to you guys. I was not around last year for that event, so just kind of get your feedback on it for anybody that was in attendance. What did you like about it? What
It
what
was
could
70
change?
degrees and all the snow melted.
Terrible.
70 degrees?
Yep, and all the snow melted.
I only went the year it
I-
snowed, so we played football in the snow.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That
Yeah.
last year was a little,
Yeah, it was a-
last year was a little difficult. A lot of people were sick. A lot of people went on vacation early, and the weather sort of kept people away.
yeah.
So I don't know if that Saturday is the best day to have it. I don't
It's a
know if the Saturday,
Vacation, isn't
It's a
it?
Saturday vacation where a lot of
vacation,
people,
I
if you're
think-
leaving the,
right, and I
go
think
anywhere.
maybe the Saturday before that would be a better date.
Okay.
In my mind. I think that will help,
The 17th is
and it might be colder.
Don't jinx it.
Oh, really? February thaw.
let's see.
I think the wagon ride was a real big hit. Hooked to the van. Kids really like that.
Okay.
Fill the wagon with hay. Yep, there was a wagon with hay, and the kids, Darren actually drove the red van around, and the kids had a really good time with that. Snow sculptures, we tried to make that work. With food coloring, and yeah, it was good though, we did. And the indoor games are always fun too, the kids had a good time with that.
And maybe if it's cold enough, we can try to get that rink back up
that's what I
too.
was gonna.
Yeah, the rink was, I have to use the word disaster, so,
It was-
yeah, it didn't, yeah, the weather was bad, and the rink was bad during the 250th too in January, so that really didn't hold together very well. So I don't know if,
Not worth it.
yeah, I don't know, it's just so hard to do an ice skating rink.
It is.
It really is. It's a lot of work, and it's really hard to put together, and it was great effort by, you know, the people that did it, but it's just, it didn't work out very well for the 250th, and by the time, you
No,
know,
there was nothing there.
there was
for it.
nothing, no,
Yeah.
there wasn't anything there by the Winter Carnival, so.
Well, we could, depending on the weather, we could see how things go, and if skating is good, or if the ice is good, we might be able to make something work at VZ behind the school for that weekend.
Yeah,
Just leave that one wide open and.
right.
Can we leave that open to the next meeting, and we can see how, you know,
Yeah.
snow is
Yeah,
happening?
well,
and-
right, if it's good, we'll try it. If it's,
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe, maybe not,
yeah.
because it is a lot of work.
And
It
it's not a
is.
bad idea about the school, too, because I'm thinking if there were snow, we could lead like a snowshoe on the cross-country trail.
Yeah,
'Cause
Right.
we go back there all the time snowshoeing when.
Right.
yeah.
And that'd be just more exposure for kids. And we could even, you know, if we can get a hold of cross-country skis for kids, you know, get,
We had a row of snowshoes, we were gonna have snowshoe races, but there was no, it was mud.
Yeah.
So that didn't work out very well, but we had, you know, all the regular games we do for Old Home Day, you know, sack race in the mud and all the other things that we did, so. The
Well,
kids-
Our meeting in February will make some decisions on
yeah.
what's around.
Right, but I think a different
But
date.
I think the 17th's a good
Yeah, I
idea.
think it's better to have it a week earlier.
The other winter/early spring events, any ideas or?
I think I threw that out there just to, I know a few years ago, Joe used to have those kind of, the end of winter, early spring, get out of hibernation, a dance up at the American Legion, get a band or a DJ, and, you know, it would be a fundraiser for Parks and Rec for whatever we needed. And I'm not saying we need to do it this year, but if it's something that, you know, we wanted to. I know the band, they're having a New Year's Eve, the Railers are playing there again. A friend of mine, well, it's Bill
Clark.
in town and Dana, their band's playing their New Year's Eve.
Like where, at the Legion?
At the Legion, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they played a Halloween thing, and the Legion came to them and said, we made money, and they didn't even charge a cover, and so they were thrilled with them. They're having them back. They're a good band, really good band. So if it's something like we're looking to try to do something to have an adult band.
What do you think
dance.
about tagging that onto the Winter Carnival, do the dance at night?
Oh, didn't think
Do the
about
dance
that.
at night and make it like a Joe Stone scholarship
Yeah,
fundraiser also,
Yeah.
because we don't know if we'll get the coffee house that next year.
right. We
If
won't
we
have it for
could-
next,
Yeah, if we can boost that up right now, and I think, you know, midwinter dance is a great idea.
I can check with Dane, with
Mhm.
that band, and they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be that band, but if we're thinking about doing that, that would be
Yeah.
kind of a cool thing.
Right. No, what does it what does it cost to
For the band?
rent the
hall,
Legion Hall
I don't know.
and the band?
Yeah,
Would we get sponsors? Would we say, hey, Deerfield Vet?
do that.
Deerfield
And
Dentistry.
another option, if we didn't want to do a band, is a DJ or, you know,
Yeah,
Right.
we can get Tim Griffin to do it
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with his new light system.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Oh, you missed that at the
Yeah,
coffee house.
it was
pretty
fabulous. It
impressive.
really was.
Oh, yeah.
It was. I mean, if
Background
we-
lights on the back.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. it
And
was
if we
good.
did, if we all went out and got a sponsor, say each one of us got a sponsor for $100, and we asked Tim to do the concert, and we pay the fee for renting the hall, we could clean house. Yeah,
Yeah.
not charge too much to get in, and
No.
It's a good idea, I think, to tag them together too, and then it's
Yeah.
one day of,
One day of us,
Day of
yeah.
and then especially if the weather's lousy and
right, yeah.
you have the evening to,
Right, this, the winter carnival outside is for
Yeah.
the kids, and the winter carnival at night is for the adults.
yep,
And that weekend would be,
17th.
17th.
and so Valentine's Day falls right in the middle of that week, so, but that's, could be, yeah, the 17th would be.
More people would be around, because that is so
You're right.
hard to have that
Yeah.
Saturday, and people are flying somewhere, or they leave early Friday, and they go on
Right.
vacation, and so, yeah, and it's like, numbers are low for
Right.
that week.
So do we have a target date?
This-
17th.
17th.
February.
February, yeah.
Same day.
That night.
Yeah.
Well, you want me to check on the Legion, and I'll check on the band what the cost would be. I have a feeling I have an idea what it is, but
Yeah,
I don't know if he'd give us a little bit of break. I think it's around 500.
500 or 600, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought too. I think that's what, when we were looking into Joe's party,
Yeah,
I think that's what,
that's what he
Yeah.
gave us, so.
that's what it was.
But,
I mean, DJ would be, a band would be fun, but a DJ would be fine too. so.
Yeah, I'm fine with you, I'm not,
Yeah,
If we
Whatever.
need to be a fundraiser, we need to focus on that.
yeah, yeah. I'd be
Can't
fine
spend
with,
it all.
I'd be fine with DJ.
All right, any other winter, spring events? Travel soccer, we already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Rec commission officers, I thought it was a good time to talk about, I guess I'm the chairman. I'm very willing to give it up if anybody else is interested. But we should also have a vice chairman, which I don't believe we have. And I think it should be listed. So that's why I
Mhm.
wanted to put it on here and see what people had suggestions or volunteers or,
well, Ernie's not here, so I nominate Ernie.
Really?
I second that.
I was gonna nominate Dwight.
Congratulations, Ernie.
You got it.
I was gonna nominate Dwight, he's right
Yep.
here. I'm not shy.
Yep. Second that too.
Yeah?
I'm the new guy here.
The new old.
New old guy? That's what you
old
call
guy.
yourself. It's on tape now.
well, I mean, it's something we need to. Are you serious about nominating Ernie or not?
No, I was just throwing that, no, I wouldn't do that while he's not here.
So,
But I'm serious about second and Dwight,
Yeah.
if he was
Me too.
interested.
for chairman or vice chair?
Vice chair?
Well, if,
Vice chair would be fine.
I'll do, if,
once your term is up,
yeah.
the
that's what I was gonna say.
BOS, it's gonna be a problem, because then you're not on this board.
That's right. It's not
So,
a problem.
well, no, it is, because we have to make space for you.
So why don't, there's a nomination for Dwight for vice chairman. Anybody else?
Is there anybody else that's interested in that position?
Yeah, that's what it's out here for. Believe me, it's not, we've been there before, so it's easy to give it back up, so. If there's no others, we'll take a vote on it. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, that's fine.
All right,
Thank
and
you.
Chairman,
Right, there you go. I'll get you out of the house more. More volunteering?
all right, I didn't hear any nominations for chairman, so.
Kind of like the one we have.
Congratulations to you, Jeff.
So we'll,
Working well.
yeah, it would be fun to have, someone else take it over sometime, so we'll go for maybe a year and then we'll see what happens. Do it again. So. All right, any other business, anybody?
I have one thing. I was looking through my old notebook, and we haven't done a 5-year plan since 2013. So this is kind of where we're at now, and it's kind of interesting to see. I don't know if I have another copy of it. I think we really need to try to get a 5-year plan and see where we're at with Hartford Brook and other things that we need. And see, it's funny, isn't it funny looking at that?
Couple.
Yeah.
But it's interesting and see what is done on it. I mean, some of this has been done, so. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think we need to, have some sort of direction of, what are we looking for to do in 5 years? Just like the travel soccer, it's not gonna happen overnight, and, do we need a new van in 2 years? Do we need a new lawnmower? Are we gonna need more work on bicentennial? What are our plans? Like, we did the carpeting, we got a new furnace, things that we need to think about and where, plan for those big budget things. So, I don't know if, Nick, you want to try to tackle that, or we want to do it as a group, and,
I will certainly take it.
and we had, put price tags on stuff and, what we thought we were gonna need.
I was thinking maybe what we could do, instead of just giving it to Nick at this point, is
Yeah.
if we had ideas of what we
Right.
wanted to see done in the next few years, put them together and then,
Right,
either send them to Nick or even I think I did this, actually. But Just
Yeah,
put them
we had-
together and bring them
yeah.
to review for the next meeting.
Right. We had a whole special meeting on just this, 5-year plan, what we wanted to do, and just thoughts.
Do you want this back, or?
No, I mean, Nick can have that,
Yeah.
and just kind of an idea of what we were.
But I think it'd be good for all of us, especially with
Oh,
some
yeah,
new people.
definitely.
that
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
Throw things out there that you
Yeah,
guys are,
right.
you'd
What
like
we-
to see done, and
Right.
it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think you should be chairman.
No. Nope. Not happening.
How do we make out for registration for basketball?
Went well. We're over, let's see, I'm trying to think about this here. We were over 60 kids, a lot of late registrations, honestly, and didn't turn any down. Try to be inclusive, although I do want to get a little more strict with the deadline and having people meet that deadline. Just because it's a burden on scheduling and finding
Yes.
coaches and everything else. It's almost like you have to restart every time you take a late registration. So we're going to try to get better with making sure that people recognize that there's a firm deadline for that. So 60 people, I believe, or 60 kids from grades 3 through 8, and then, let's see, I think we were at 35 total from K through 2. So numbers are pretty good.
5, 6 girls are well represented.
Nice.
We have 15 girls on my team, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
15?
15.
They have 2 teams.
We try to keep it from 8 to 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15?
Yeah.
Then you're going to get to play.
if you s- if
It'll
you-
be a struggle, but, I mean, we had our jamboree this past weekend, and they're quick in and out, but and I warned, I guess you say, I warned all the kids and parents via email, kids at practice, that it's gonna be, people are gonna be in and out quick, everyone's gonna get equal playing time, but it's gonna be tough because we have such a large group, so.
Right.
They're all pretty much but they're all super positive.
That's good.
3 girls have never touched a basketball before, and they are loving it. So it's been really positive so far.
How's the coaching situation, coaches, people stepping up to coach? And
Yeah, we were able to, I think 3rd and 4th grade girls and boys, we did have to split the boys because of the numbers. So we had to recruit a couple of coaches last minute, but we have everything we need as far as that goes. We did reach 16 players for the boys team, 5 and 6, because of a late registration again, but it was far too late to do anything with that as far as finding a coach. I think that was last week we pulled that kid in. So rather than saying no, we took him in. We have a plan for rotation as far as all Deerfield games at that level are going to be extended. We prove that through the league, so everyone's understanding of that so that we can get them all adequate playing
Extended
time.
time-wise?
Yeah, so they're instead of 6-minute quarters, they'll be 8 minutes, just for that level. And we're gonna look to explore extending it for all levels next year, after the end of the season, so, things are going well.
Good. What about hoop camp?
Yeah, Hoop Classic.
Just delving into that right now, we've already had teams reach out about it, they're ahead of the curve as far as, trying to get their name out there, so. 43 teams last year, we're pushing for 50 this year, that's the goal.
Do we contact you about that?
Yeah.
Because I have a friend that coaches a girls' Londonderry team that might be interested in
Perfect.
jumping in, so, okay.
Do we have dates for that? I know we talked about it. I know we talked about
I gotta
went
pull up
to
my
the
calendar on
Easter.
that, I think it's March.
It was earlier than,
March 24th through the 11th.
it was later.
Yeah.
It was later, not earlier.
Right, simply due to the other tournaments that are happening.
Yeah.
Right, because it was the 18th
We're
last year.
conflicting, and we don't want to go too late either.
Yeah.
So the 24th through, I believe, the 11th, if it takes as long as it did last year, which was 18 days.
Right, we had a couple snow days there.
Right,
You had one day off for Easter, too.
right, we spoke about that.
Now, are you encouraging incentives to the Deerfield teams for the parents to work?
Sorry?
Have the parents work the tournament and have a reduced fee, or?
That's a
no
that's a
fee, or-
possibility. I haven't even actually touched the fees yet.
Okay.
Just kind of getting acquainted with the whole situation.
Okay.
Since, we're just finalizing scheduling for the regular season and things like that. So that's going to be the next project, is jumping right into Hoop Classic and figuring that whole piece of it out.
Right.
But we do have help with concessions as far as, we're kind of deferring the concession fundraiser to the eighth grade.
Eighth grade.
Eighth graders
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
They're more than willing to help with that, as well as the whole basketball season too, so they're gonna step in. So yeah, I'm confident in the help we'll have for basketball.
All right.
On that, obviously Joe was a big part of that over the years. Make sure you ask for help if you see you need it there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the committee would be happy to.
And a big thing with that tournament is how Joe did it. He was on the microphone every single game.
Mhm.
He had music going,
Mhm.
warm-ups,
Lights.
timeouts. Like, that's what made the experience. He shut the lights off for the kids at the beginning of the game, introduced them. It was,
Yeah.
Big show.
like,
yeah.
my girls last year were nervous. Because they were like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, yeah. My
After that
daughter was
first time
too.
out, they were so excited. Like,
Uh-huh.
just that experience brought their level of play up because they were like
Oh, yeah.
so excited about it. So, I mean, it's just, we threw T-shirts out to the crowds.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
like my daughters, we came back to watch friends play that were on another team. They made signs so they can get, like, it was
That's true.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So,
It's a great tournament.
It is.
yeah. And
But he also disciplined the crowd and made sure people were responsible and,
Right.
respected the gym and,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So that's the biggest thing, like that experience. That's
Mhm.
what brings all these 40, 50 teams here is
Yeah.
to see that, so, and experience it, so.
It's like you're,
Who did all the lights for those?
Joe,
like-
well, he had like just a little, like he would have, like myself or whoever was helping would shut the lights down.
right.
Yeah.
And then he had one little, like, strobe light. that he would,
Strobe
like-
light, and he would, and
Which-
the
Well,
teams
It
would,
was like a lot of lights in the gym last year. It was like an NBA All-Star game.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, yeah, I took some
It was
pictures
like
of
the whole
them, yeah.
build-up and it
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this-
yeah.
Yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
disco
And
room.
Tim
Yeah.
Griffin is actually, he already offered to
Cool, all right.
provide his equipment for that. He's looking to get a possible spotlight.
lights.
Like, he is really
That would be
into
great.
it, so
Yeah, we know.
he just needs to have a couple more people that know how to run it, because he doesn't think he can be here for those
Every single
night,
day?
those 2 straight weeks.
3
so-
weeks
No?
for a month.
But he's definitely
Yeah.
willing to donate his equipment, and he said as long as Cindy will let him, leave it on the stage, obviously kind of hidden, curtain
Mhm.
closed and stuff, so kids aren't getting to it, but he's more than willing to help out with that, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And his sound system is, everyone knows it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
pretty state-of-the-art, so.
Nick, I have one quick question. Do you know, you may not even know, are we still offering scholarship for kids who families can't afford registration for any sport, and if and people have asked for it?
I'm not 100% sure about that. Something I'm definitely open to doing, because I think that that'd
We've
be
had that in the
useful.
past, right? I
Yeah,
just- that-
yeah,
But nobody's approached you
Nobody's
for it.
approached you
No.
about
Yeah.
needing,
yeah. I don't think we've ever really advertised it, but
Yeah.
we definitely.
we're not aware of anybody
Right.
not playing
Not,
because of
right, because of
money.
it, right.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
We'll cross that bridge if we need to.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything else, anybody?
I got one more thing.
Yep.
Holiday lights at the gazebo. Are they up? Are we gonna put them up?
And they should have gone up at six, with Santa, didn't they?
No, they're
They
not
didn't?
on. A couple people have said something to me, too.
Oh, that's weird. Well,
Just mentioned
I
it.
know Mark,
Is that Mark?
Who does that normally?
usually Mark does,
Yeah, it's
but Mark
always
had Mark had some personal stuff,
Hmm.
so I don't know if that, we'll have to see if that gets done. Yeah, we'll look into that.
Anything else?
I guess last thing, I would like to officially congratulate Brian on qualifying for the Boston
Yeah, no
Marathon.
kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming,
It's awesome.
3 hours and 9 minutes.
in 25 seconds.
That's ridiculous. I skipped
That's
that.
like when people say,
I
oh,
already
it's 26 miles? No, it's 26.2.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all right.
Thank you for embarrassing me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, you earned it.
Right, no
No,
kidding.
everybody knows.
That's
Yep.
right.
Sure,
That's right. That's right.
sure.
With
our- have those
with our
moisture wicking
picture on
shirts?
it.
Yeah, we can get you one. We'll get you one.
Right.
Yeah, our picture has to
one.
be on that shirt,
20,
all of us.
2019.
Yeah, right, our picture.
Yes.
Not next year, it's
Not next year?
2019.
Okay.
But yes, I will be there.
That's
Very good.
That
Thank
is
you.
awesome, yeah.
For you.
All right.
I had to look your time up.
Do it.
What is this time?
Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn?
I second it.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Yep. So now it's all about staying healthy for the next.